Welcome back from that short breather, and of course, in our second hour of Smart Men's Business here in Smart 24 TV, where we drive your business. My name is Masiket Sime, and still here every Monday to Friday, giving you information in line with business. Well, it is a cold morning, and of course, right about now, I'm joined with Andrew Barije. I don't know how his morning went. Actually, for most of us, these days, I don't know if you are not really. If you have if you're allergic or you have asthma, I don't think you can work these days. It's really extremely cold. Yeah. Which is expected in the month of November.
Definitely.
Yeah. So if I would encourage someone to go with the jacket or an umbrella, just in case. Yeah.
And I think this weather is nice. A cold weather, cool. Anyway, personally, I love the cold weather. It really works out for me. It's the best weather I can actually live in. It's really good. And well, on the other side, taking a look at some other aspects, when it comes to business, weather and business, and also in some sort of a way, related, the people that are actually making money right now, most especially those, that are dealing into, materials that are related to trying to prevent coldness to reach you, people that are saying duvets and all that. Well, they're making quite some good money. Of course, this is the time when somebody's going to think about, hey, I need to replace my duvet, I need something much more better, and all that, something that is luxurious, and so many more of that perspective.
Well, of course, here on Smart Men's Business, we're always here to inspire you, to get you motivated every now and again. So let's first get motivated and see how we're going to go about this. Well, of course, right there, you don't have to be great for you to start, but what you have to do is for you to start in order for you to be great. So definitely it starts, you don't start to be like, oh, I'm going to start and get there. No. All your aim is to be great. Not to start by being great. Then no, you have to start from the basics. Then you go to the minimum. Then you can go to the advanced level. That's how we do this. So we roll it. And of course, we're into the hard times because someone was actually telling me, Andrew, that this November is really black in November because the months we expected for people to be earning and getting deals, and it's just different.
Yeah, I mean, it's all like that. Actually, eventually it was into the newspapers. I saw it about the Christmas season seems to be a little bit blank, unlike way back in time when by this time people already really feeling excited about it. So things are actually really changing. But you see, away from that perspective, you mentioned something of that line that despite there being a crisis, there is something positive out of it. You know, I mean, I know partly of this is due to the global inflation, definitely. And looking at the inflation of the continent at the same time, as we actually see that the inflation of Africa is anticipated to be to reach 3.3. That is by the end of this year. 2023. So all those factors kind of interplay to what we're actually seeing right now.
You know, we are reading in the papers, and of course the IMF was actually predicting, was actually warning some of the countries that are going to have currency depreciation next year, and Kenya being affected this year is going to be affected. Even Nigeria is going to be affected. So just like it's an outlook. Yeah, there is maybe a possible way they could change that. Maybe with currency depreciation, maybe it couldn't happen. You know, given this report that it came in, there has to be something that maybe.
As long as we just increase production, that's what we need to do. Because if you be a country and you actually import, because most of the African countries even import raw materials that they use to produce the goods that are probably sold out there. So you find that there is you incur more cost vis-a-vis the profit that you actually get out of that. And even when you're selling up there, you exploit it because you don't have the terms, you don't have what it takes to negotiate the prices on the global market.
Well, of course, as we're still talking about inspiration, you know, there is this gentleman, and of course he's called Nick Jovic. You know of him, the man with no limbs?
Nick Jovic. Okay.
He has no limbs whatsoever.
He's in the Guinness World Book of Records?
Yes, he has no limbs. He's a motivational speaker. He has really inspired a lot of people. Yeah. And of course, when you look at his story, look at his journey, and of course him being bullied, yeah. You know, I think sometimes you just take things for granted.
How? Like?
How? You have limbs, but you cannot wake up in the morning and walk somewhere and do something for yourself. Yeah? So we are lazy. People with no limbs, they're being productive, they're making names for themselves. I even saw this this youngster that opened up the Olympics in, was it Dubai and UAE? Last year? Either last year with Newman. With Freeman, actually, with Freeman. He had no limbs. But he has been, he does football as well, with no limbs, half body. Yeah.
And what people need to understand is that the determination you actually have to do something has nothing to do with your physique, but it's more of your mental physique. Your mental physique determines what you can actually do best. So, I mean, actually, the best way, you should be thinking about how do I, you know, increase my mental physique. You see, when the Bible says that body exercise profiteth little, but godliness is much more better. Exercising yourself in godliness. But this time around, I'm trying to tell you, exercise yourself, exercise your mental abilities. It's okay to go to the gym because a healthy brain should settle in a healthy body, which is okay. But exercise your mental faculty. Try out things that you've never done before. You know, challenge yourself. And actually, mathematics is one of the ways you can challenge your mental abilities when it comes to thinking, when it comes to solving problems using logic, you know, and not like, you know, being theoretical in terms of how you solve your problems. That's one of the ways you can actually grow your mental capacity. And not so many people really try. Reading out new books, actually even the movies you watch determine a lot your mental faculty. I mean, the way you think. That's why personally I don't so much feel for mainstream movies as much as that, because I believe there is another side you can get. So all those ways, you're challenged to look at life in a certain way, and it will influence the decision that you're actually making today. You know, yeah, that is key. Well, still in the inspiration moment, something I want to talk about before we get into the e-commerce discussion. There is something, many times we talk about self-employment. I mean, every person wants to be self-employed, which is okay. But sometimes I ask myself a question: do you want to be self-employed as one of the ways to cover up probably your laziness? Because at some point in life, let me tell you something, this is the reality. It's more like if you report to work, for example, like, hey, you have to be at work by 7, and you know, and you're grumbling every time you're coming, you're grumbling, you know what, I feel like I should do my own business, because now you're thinking, when I have my own business, I'll report at work at 10, you know.
I had the same mentality.
How does that come down?
I will confess, I had the same mentality. I was like, you know, I want to be self-employed, get to work the time I want, close the time I want. Until I realized, oh my goodness, I'm running out of time. Like,
exactly.
I'm growing. Soon enough, I'll have a family to die for. How about the time I'm like, oh, I need to open up the time I want? How about I wake up early in the morning? You know, I do all it takes so that by the time I'm ready for a family, at least I have something.
Exactly. In other words, if you tell me that, because for you to get...
We do that because you have no reason. You have no reason for waking up in the morning. Ali, who are you working with? You're working for yourself. You're
working for yourself. But you see, that is one of the reasons why most businesses in Africa don't see their first birthday. Because we enter this with a mentality that I'm going to do what I want, and I'm going to use this business to milk money out to fulfill my desires and intentions. But which is not right. Because how can you be self-employed if you've not worked for a business? So the diligence you show when you work, that means it's the same deal. It will be transferred to when you actually work. The former owner of Twitter, that's Jack Dorsey, say in every year for 6 months, straight months, he could go to India to meditate on what? Twitter. Because you see, when you've not yet started a company that big, you may not know the responsibility. Right. This is a person, I mean, 6 months he's in the Himalayas mountains. I'm not trying to tell you to go meditate, but for him, it worked for him. If it worked for him, well and good. I'm just trying to give you an example of responsibility. When you own something that you birthed yourself, he could actually go meditate 24/7, Himalaya. 6 good months, no sleep. Okay, of course, I'm not saying you don't sleep at all, but sleeping for 2 hours literally every day. But he's thinking on one thing, and it's not by mistake that we see these brands being big to what they are. There is a price to pay behind. So if as an entrepreneur, if you're not willing to go that extra mile, chances are high that, well, you may fail to see your first birthday in the first place.
Oh yeah.
Chances are huge.
Well, of course, maybe we could get into the topic of discussion today, and of course, we're looking at the landscape of e-commerce in our country, Uganda, how we are progressing when it comes to e-commerce. Yes, but of course, with the penetration of internet and the more access to smartphones, I believe people are really embracing e-commerce. We have Jumia for it. Yeah, Jumia is a leading e-commerce, organization company?
E-commerce platform.
Yes, where people can purchase. I mean, people are like, oh, I purchase all my phones on online shopping. I purchase my dresses. You know, it's really good. I like that. That we are going back. Like that's what people in the US do. They don't do window shopping like we do. You go to the market. No, you just order, look at the dress, and you order for it, and it's on your doorstep. Yeah,
exactly. That is quite key. And maybe part of this, we are trying to take a look at the under-tapped niches, in terms of e-commerce. Now, of course, part of the report here suggests that one of the key strategies for maximizing the e-commerce business, that is opportunities to identify the untapped niches, most especially now, taking a look at Uganda. Because we are trying to take a look at this matter from Uganda's perspective, East Africa's perspective, Africa, and of course the entire globe at large. And by the way, China is still really one of those countries with the best e-commerce platforms and e-commerce landscapes. Now, of course, these are market segments that are underserved, all overlooked. That is by existing e-commerce businesses. Now that is by, okay, like through targeting these business niches, we can avoid competition and capture larger share, that is of the market, most especially in Uganda. Now, for example, remember we are trying to broaden this discussion to the East African level, whereby we see some of the untapped niches in the East African e-commerce market. There is the aspect of luxury goods. The luxury goods, the East African middle class is growing rapidly, and actually there is a growing demand for luxury goods at the same time. Because, however, there are few e-commerce businesses that cater for this market. You see, one of the greatest aspects I came to realize about this is my interaction with some of the developers of some of the e-commerce platforms. Some are university students, and you know, they came up with this unique model of specialization. For example, you find that some e-commerce platforms have everything, but once you center yourself in a niche, hey, I know somebody who put up an e-commerce platform and it's dealing in gym materials. You want to lift weight and all that, you go in there. Why? Because when you go to, of course, the mainstream e-commerce platforms like Jumia you mentioned, you find that they may just have a bit of those. They may not have it all because they are catering for all goods around, and so it may not be, they may not be efficient enough if they actually focus on that. So if we have a specialized platform that deals with that, that creates a market share for that platform and growth, you know, because I know one that is responsible for entirely a beauty product at Makerere University. Some university students developed that, and all these innovations and these strategies are quite very key. I mean, they provide us a certain kind of mileage in terms of the development of the e-commerce there. Now, taking a look at rural markets in here, rural markets part of the underserved niches. Over 60% of Africans live in rural areas. These are facts. And but there are a few e-commerce businesses that target these markets that are into the rural areas.
Obviously. No, why in the rural areas? Because, I mean, there is little access to internet services.
Actually, no, some people may have the internet, but okay, I think it comes back to the infrastructure because remember, because there is this aspect of delivery. Because you have to deliver the goods to the person at the end of the day. And also another challenge is that despite the fact that we talk about online, we cannot take away the physical stores. You need to have a physical store where you keep your goods. And now this conditioning of that and how safe are you, because it's going to be, it explains why you look at the product on the e-commerce platform, and once you get the product in actual life, it doesn't really look like what you saw in there. Why? The storage, how do you, because probably where it was in the warehouse, it got damages and all. Sometimes when they're trying to lift it up, wear and tear that comes along due to poor storage facilities, and that is very evident in Uganda. And these are very aspects that actually,
those are one of the challenges that maybe should be discussed. Maybe if at all we could get a guest and maybe they could actually address this issue. You know, you're seeing a couch and it's like light green.
Perfect.
And it's very leather. The next thing you see is different package on your doorstep.
Exactly. So,
so should we say that the picture quality is overrated?
No, it's not the picture quality. Really, they look there. Okay, of course, there is some editing when you're taking these photos because even movies we watch, America doesn't look like what we watch in the movies. It's totally, you'll be very shocked when you get there. Washington has very old buildings. Anyway, I was just trying to say that it's just the storage facilities, the storage conditions that makes those commodities wear out so fast that you receive it when it looks old. Of course, originally, when they were imported, they were okay. They were okay when they were in stores, but due to, you know, I mean, the wear and tear, poor storage conditions, the warehouse probably is not in the best condition. I think we also need to cater for that because, for example, if you know Amazon, if you go to Amazon, if you look at the Amazon shops, I mean, there is a way they are organized. It looks like this is what I'm seeing because it's very saddening when you have a very nice website, built so good and attractive with nice graphics, but when you go to your physical address, because you need a physical address despite you being having the online address, because the online address, I believe it's just temporal for just the time. All right, now that is something for the rural markets. Now, specific product categories. There are many product categories that are underserved. That is in the East Africa e-commerce market, such as organic foods. There is artisanal products. We have handicrafts businesses that can actually specialize in these categories, and they can capture a loyal customer base. I think that is something I was mentioning about specialization of specific products. Now, here are some of the underserved markets in Africa, most especially if we are to take a look at the Francophone Africa. Now, Francophone Africa is a large growing market, but there are few e-commerce businesses that cater for this market. Now, businesses that can actually provide French language e-commerce services will have a significant advantage. So, the francophone nations. So if you're in East Africa, you can always, and you're a developer, you can always think about developing an e-commerce platform from these nations. And if you can get people to translate this, because some people don't, it's like how if you developed an e-commerce platform and it's in France, I'm not going to even get time to take a look at it because I don't understand anything. It's in French, it's in Chinese language. So we need to adjust in Africa, and that is something we've been really handling.
Anyway, I think maybe for a developer, you have to understand that we're in a continent that has very many languages. Yeah. Some use French,
localization,
even some use their native languages.
Yeah.
So, but of course, the major ones we know French, French and English, and maybe Swahili. Yeah. So definitely, there's always that option.
There's
I've not seen the time, even in China, there is the option of English.
Yeah, actually, that calls for developers being a little bit versatile in terms of languages you choose, but still, you must make sure that you're translating the right language, because if you make a mistake, so there is need for experts who know this language and how best, because trust me, if you're a Chinese developer and you don't get the right translation to my language that I relate to,
you know,
I might be misled.
I've been going to the ATM recently, and of course I just realized that there are three languages available. There's English, Swahili and Lunyankole.
Okay.
Yeah, so in my mind I was like, why isn't there, where are other languages? Is there maybe another
like Luganda
or Japadola or Lango or Langi?
Of course you can't cater for all the languages because at least for any country, you need to have a language that unites you. At least now, for the case of Uganda, Luganda has dominated because many, the Central being one of the dominant tribes in terms of so many things. So definitely, even language-wise, they do dominate. So
I think maybe
it does.
It can really sense your name, because in most cases it brings me the option, those three options. English, Swahili, and Lunyankole.
All right, maybe probably
They
going to put in your credentials. All right, it's exactly 28 minutes past 8, and we are discussing matters to do with e-commerce, how businesses can actually maximize the e-commerce opportunities to make much more sales. And definitely we've been taking a look at quite a number of aspects, underserved niches in Africa, taking a look at rural areas and specific, certain goods which are not given attention, like organic products, some of the key hindrances. Well, we shall continue with this discussion, of course, later on. But for now, let's get into the break. And when we return, we shall be taking a look at what's happening in the world of entertainment and business and sports. Stick around.